I'm Dwight Drummond. Tonight, Ontario's push to get second doses into arms is gaining momentum.
Ontario is continuing to accelerate our vaccine rollout by expanding eligibility for second doses ahead of schedule.
We'll have details on the latest move to open up eligibility. It comes as federal health officials are now recommending provinces stop administering the AstraZeneca vaccine. Plus,
it would be nice to know what we're allowed to do.
There seems to be super limited guidance, which is kind of unfortunate. There's not a lot of communication.
As more and more people get their second shot in Ontario, many are wondering what they can and can't do once they're fully vaccinated. And disturbing video surfaces at the trial of a Toronto police officer charged with assault. With millions of vaccine doses arriving in the province this month, Ontario is once again accelerating its timeline for administering second shots. It comes as clinics throughout the GTA have faced long lines of people eager to get their jab. Lorenda Redekop now with the expanded eligibility details.
It was another day of waiting, confusion, and frustration at a vaccine pop-up clinic. Some arrived before 5 a.m.
They didn't even have the lineups planned. I mean, they had people running from down the street, sprinting, trying to get their spots in line because they originally had them going one way.
A week before I got my first dose, I was doing this exact thing, like vaccine chasing, just trying to find some place that would accept me. And then suddenly I could book an appointment. I did it. I got it within a week, so easily. So now I'm like, is this worth it?
Now more people will be eligible for their second dose earlier. If you got Pfizer or Moderna on May 9th or earlier, you can book for dose 2 starting Monday at 8 a.m. 2 days later, next Wednesday, you're eligible if you're in one of these 10 Delta hotspots and received your first dose on May 30th or earlier. Hamilton, Simcoe, Muskoka, and Durham are new to the hotspot list. Then, for everyone else, the week of June 28th, you can book as long as it's at least 28 days after your first dose. The health minister says the province is working with public health units to avoid the online scramble from this week as people searched for appointments and none came up.
To make sure that as eligibility opens up more next week, that there are appointment spots available so that people don't have to wait, they don't have to come back and search many times to find that appointment.
This month, Ontario is set to receive more than 3 million doses of Moderna and more than 2 million of Pfizer. So when you come to a mass vaccination clinic like this one, you could end up receiving either vaccine. Doctors have been going online encouraging people to get Moderna after witnessing some hesitancy around it.
The only reason everyone's all about Pfizer is because that's all we've been hearing about in the news for the last little while, because we weren't getting too much Moderna in the beginning.
Messenger RNAs are completely interchangeable. I understand that people initially felt that if they had Pfizer at their first shot, they believed they needed Pfizer for the second. It's simply not proven to be the case through science.
The province says at least 75% of adults have received one dose. That's higher than the UK, US, and Israel. 19% of Ontarians are fully vaccinated, a number the province wants to see increase quickly to fight against the quickly spreading Delta variant. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Canadians are being told to avoid the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine if possible. Earlier, the expert panel that advises federal health officials recommended not getting it as a first shot. Now it's saying to avoid AstraZeneca as a second shot as well. The panel recommends that anyone who has already received a first dose of AstraZeneca get a second dose of either Moderna or Pfizer. David Cochran now with the latest.
Ready?
Yeah. With second shots on the rise and mRNA vaccines arriving by the millions, the guidance for people who got AstraZeneca is changing yet again.
An mRNA vaccine should now be offered as a second dose for individuals who received a first dose of AstraZeneca or Covishield vaccine.
People can still get AstraZeneca as a second dose if they want, but the new guidance reflects emerging evidence of a potentially better immune response from mixing vaccines and no risk of the rare but serious blood clots associated with AstraZeneca. For people who have received one dose of Pfizer or Moderna, the advice is to get the same vaccine for the second shot if possible, but it's safe to mix vaccines if not. But what about people who already have 2 shots of AstraZeneca?
I wish to emphasize that people who receive 2 doses of AstraZeneca COVID vaccine can rest assured that the vaccine they receive provides good protection against infection and very good protection against severe disease and hospitalization.
It represents a more formal shift toward Pfizer and Moderna, something that was happening anyway as weekly deliveries have surged. With Pfizer delivering like clockwork and Moderna now accelerating deliveries, Canada will receive more than 10 million doses in this week alone. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Premier hinting today that the move to Step 2 of the province's reopening plan could come sooner than expected.
Yeah, so we're going to sit down with the health table and Dr. Williams and just get his guidance. I'm pushing him. I think everyone's pushing him. When it comes to the hairdressers, folks, hang in there. We're going to get there as soon as possible. And Jamie, you talk about the nails and manicures, pedicures. I have 5 women in my house. Well, not my house, but 5 women that are on to me. They're lobbying me hard. So are these manicures, pedicures, and everything else that they get done.
Ontario is supposed to move to Step 2 on July 2nd. That would allow for more people to gather outdoors and even attend indoor gatherings. It would also allow personal services such as haircuts to resume. But this afternoon, the province's top doctor threw some cold water on the idea of an earlier move to Step 2.
So I will say let's stay the course. We haven't been in Step 1 for a full week yet. We're only talking about another 14 days off. Let's see how we do. We got to do really a lot better. It's not that we're not doing well. We're doing great. We're on course. But we're going to have to move the yardsticks even further to get to Step 2.
Williams says officials want to avoid the scenario where businesses are allowed to reopen only to have to shut down again weeks later. As the province considers the best time to reopen, a growing number of people in Ontario are wondering what they can do now that they've been fully vaccinated. Unlike in the U.S., there are no clear guidelines in Canada for fully vaccinated people. Can they do routine things such as hugging or indoor dining? Chris Glover looks at the challenges the guidance gap is creating.
A stream of hope as people camp out to get out of the COVID nightmare.
Freedom. I'll be able to travel, visit family.
But what freedoms actually come with 2 doses of a COVID vaccine?
It would be nice to know what we're allowed to do, and right now it is unclear.
Fully vaccinated seniors in Ontario nursing homes can hug and kiss, but the Public Health Agency of Canada has not released guidance for fully vaccinated people.
It really makes little sense from a scientific perspective.
Geriatrician Dr. Nathan Stahl says while it may sound unfair to release guidelines that only vaccinated people can follow, it's also unfair to hold back protected people, especially seniors.
They may not live that long. This may be their last Father's Day coming up.
In March, U.S. guidance started coming for fully vaccinated people, recently saying they could ditch the mask.
I think mask might be the last layer of that multi-layer protection that would advise for people to remove.
Today, federal health officials reluctant to offer pan-Canadian guidelines, especially considering potential future variants.
Even if you get vaccinated 1 or 2 doses, it's not sort of a free-for-all in terms of you can do what you want.
If they give the wrong advice, they can lose public confidence as well.
Dr. Nahid Dasani agrees Canadian officials must be careful, but says staying quiet is not an option.
If we don't give them the advice, we run the risk of them behaving in an unsafe manner and perhaps mixing with people who are unvaccinated or who have just 1 dose.
In the absence of federal advice, Manitoba lifted some travel restrictions, and Quebec will soon let fully vaccinated people remove masks at private gatherings. Ontario's rules are still being worked on.
Yes, we will be releasing guidance very shortly.
I think it's less than ideal if each province and territories creates a patchwork of guidance.
But a provincial patchwork may be exactly what we're in for, much like the vaccine rollout itself. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Mississauga's mayor says she's hearing from lots of residents about the difficulty they are having booking a second dose of vaccine. Bonnie Crombie is encouraging residents to be patient and to keep trying.
Peel Public Health is continuing to add more capacity to our clinics after having to ramp down over the last couple of weeks when we saw less of the vaccine coming into Peel. And Dr. Lowe has told me that more appointments are being added each and every day.
Mayor Crombie says that with large shipments of Moderna arriving in Canada this week, more second dose appointments will be available in the coming days. A man who was allegedly assaulted by Toronto police officers on a TTC bus told a court his version of what happened today. The two officers are charged with assault and attempting to obstruct justice. The Crown is arguing one of the officers, Detective Christopher Hutchings, used excessive force. Jessica Ng has the story.
40-year-old Chase Richards told court today on December 13th he boarded the 133 bus at Markham and Ellesmere from the back door, tapped his Presto card and took a seat before being told the bus driver wanted to speak to him. He said that I came on at the back and I said to him, yeah, I did come on at the back, but I paid my fare with my Presto card. I took out my card again and I tapped it just to show him that basically I wasn't cheating. Richard says he's had a Presto card since the system was implemented and has never had an issue boarding a TTC bus from the rear entrance. He says the bus driver proceeded, saying that he doesn't want to ride with me because I smell like cigarettes and so on. I said to him that I won't be standing or sitting beside you for my smell of cigarette to be bothering you. The single father of three says he tapped his Presto card a third time to prove that he paid, but then the driver took the bus out of service. At that time, everyone was getting off. I decided to stay on for the simple fact that I'm a young black man and I don't want to be accused of cheating and leaving the scene, thinking TTC special constables would intervene. Instead, two plainclothes officers boarded the bus, Detective Christopher Hutchings in the plaid jacket and Detective Jason Tanoia. One of them said, "Is this the expletive that's causing the problem?" I replied, "I'm not an expletive because I paid my fare." After I said that, one of the gentlemen that came on grabbed me by the throat, physically threw me in the corner in the seat. Video of the incident shows Hutchings holding Richards by the throat for 30 seconds. When contacted by CBC today, a police spokesperson says the service does not teach neck restraint or chokeholds as a standard. Richards was arrested, but his charges were later withdrawn. He will continue to be cross-examined June 24th. As for the officers, Hutchings is currently suspended with pay. He has pleaded not guilty. Tanoia is still on the job. His case will be heard separately. The detectives are also facing a separate obstruction charge from the incident. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
3 men have been arrested and police are searching for 3 more after a shooting last year at a memorial for a local rapper. Hundreds of rounds of bullets were fired at the memorial for rapper Houdini back in June of 2020. The memorial was taking place in a parking lot that borders the 401. A car pulled over on the highway and at least one person from that vehicle opened fire on the crowd. Police say at least 9 people at the memorial then shot back for about 45 seconds towards the highway. 2 people were injured in the shootout. 3 people have been arrested and police have put out warrants for these 3 men: Jovante Johnson of Oshawa, Terrell Burke Whitaker of Brampton, and Glenn Dashney of Toronto. Houdini was killed in a brazen shooting outside the Bisha Hotel in downtown Toronto just weeks before the shooting near the highway. Peel police are looking to identify a suspect they say is responsible for an explosion and fire at a business in Mississauga. Police say they received a call of a fire in the area of Huron, Ontario and Dundas Street around 4:40 a.m. on March 28th. Officers say a fire accelerant was thrown at a business, causing an explosion that caused extensive damage to both the unit and neighboring units. The blaze was extinguished by firefighters and no injuries were reported. Today, police released a video of the suspect and are asking anyone with information to contact investigators or Crime Stoppers. His friends and family, along with many foodies in the city, are mourning the passing of Tom Davis tonight. The founder of Stockyards Smokehouse Restaurant died recently while on vacation in Jamaica. Greg Ross has more.
He made me feel like $1 million every day that I was around that man. He made me laugh every time.
Lisa Josephs is the manager at Stockyard Smokehouse and has worked alongside owner Tom Davis for the past 12 years. She says it wasn't just his food that made him popular, it was his big heart.
I watched that man in the middle of winter take his coat off and give it to a homeless person. I know that I've been here and there are people without money who come in and Tom makes sure that they get fed.
The news of Davis's death spread through the St. Clair West neighborhood quickly today.
When this came out about Tom, there was heartbreak all over it.
Some left notes on the front door. Others stopped by in person to pay their respects.
And he just brought something so new and fresh to this neighborhood. But then, he's
he was a great part of the community. You know, he was a friendly guy, he was a good guy, and well loved.
Davis had worked in the Toronto restaurant scene for decades before opening his own restaurant here in 2009, bringing authentic Southern comfort food to Toronto, even though his friends and family say he had never actually been to the southern U.S.
Absolutely. When it came to food, Tom was a perfectionist. He tasted it, didn't taste good, he tossed it out, he'd start again. Food was his passion. Every single recipe that is on this menu, every sauce, every side, everything Tom developed.
Details surrounding Davis's death are still not entirely clear. According to his family, he had been staying in Negril, Jamaica for nearly 6 months. Joseph says police there told the family he was hit by a car.
He'd just come out of a store and he was standing on the street when a speeding car was driving erratically, and I don't think he stood a chance.
Other business owners in the neighborhood have started a GoFundMe campaign to help Davis's family bring his body back home. He leaves behind a wife and 2 daughters. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Another comfortable one out there today, Colette.
Yeah, really feeling nice when we have conditions like this. The humidity was up just a tiny bit, but not really that noticeable. And the temperature's actually just closer to seasonal for us today. 24 degrees is our current reading here, and in Oshawa you're at 23. 25 Kitchener, the warmest we're seeing on this particular map. But let me show you what's going on around the Great Lakes region, because there are definitely some warmer temperatures very close by. Look at this, high 20s and low 30s back through Minneapolis and Chicago, and yes, knocking on the door there into southwestern Ontario. So Windsor tucked up at 29 degrees, and we are going to see that heat coming into southwestern Ontario. Temperatures tomorrow for us, it's kind of a mix in terms of humidity will spike, but the temperature depends how much clearing we're going to get into the afternoon. So I'm going to go through that with you. It's clear skies tonight, and the sun doesn't set till 2 minutes after 9, so you've got plenty of time to enjoy. This bit of activity is actually drying up as it crosses the lake. This is not. And so if we take this forward, you can see all those lightning strikes. Yes, tomorrow a chance for some thunderstorms, but that's enhanced into southwestern Ontario. Watch as I put this into motion, okay? As we take you into the later evening hours, see how it just blows up? So that tags more into southwestern Ontario, but still for the GTA, we are going to see some rain showers. Like I said, locally a few areas could get some heavier amounts. Into the afternoon, we'll see it breaking up, and some of that sunshine coming through just kind of adds to the volatility. So tonight, 17, nothing to worry about. Umbrellas tomorrow, 26, Dwight.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
This weather update is brought to you by Train. For a limited time, take advantage of 36 equal payments and 0% financing. It's hard to stop a train.
Ontario's education minister said today that the province will be releasing its final fall school plans in July.
Our commitment as a government is to get students back in a more normal and stable learning environment, which includes being in class for high school kids all day. Now, with respect to the final guidance, I've always said the Chief Medical Officer of Health in July is going to make an assessment of our COVID vaccine rates for students and staff, as well as the broader public health indicators, where the COVID case numbers are and the trajectory we're on. That was the plan for last year. It's what we're doing this year.
Lecce also announced that the province will pour $12.5 million into recruiting and training French teachers over the next 4 years. It's all in an effort to address a shortage which has been made more stark by an increasing demand for second language programs. Lecce said the strategy aims to make French teacher training more flexible while reducing barriers. Ontario aims to hire as many as 500 new French teachers per year, but Lecce said it might take some time to get to that point. Ontario Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca unveiling today what his party is calling its education recovery plan.
The most important foundational thing that Doug Ford should be doing right now, that I'd be doing if I was premier, would be to have those conversations and to work collaboratively in partnership with everyone in the system.
Should Stephen Del Duca become the next premier, he says the Liberals would cap class sizes at 20 students and prioritize in-person learning. The plan includes hiring more education workers to help close learning gaps for students. The cost of the education plan would be over $2 billion. The next provincial election is about a year away. As Pride Month continues across Canada, there are plenty of displays of support, but there are also growing signs of intolerance and even hate. CBC's Magda Grabaselassie reports.
showing true colors of support. On Saturday, Joni Johnson went shopping for a pride flag, a sign of love for her 23-year-old daughter who recently came out.
I placed it in the garden and I took a picture and I sent it to my daughter and I was all excited. I'm like, this is for you, baby girl.
But hours later, it was gone. She bought more. Tuesday morning, she woke up to this.
I noticed the flags were gone and then I noticed they were burnt.
It's one of many anti-LGBTQ incidents emerging across the country. Police in Ontario are investigating this video showing a pride flag being burned, allegedly by high school students. White paint weaponized in Vancouver, destroying this rainbow-colored church display. And in Toronto, a 24-year-old man heading home from a queer-friendly spot attacked. Police investigating it as hate-motivated.
It just amplifies that hate is alive in our city.
Justin Kahn says hate crimes against the community are on the rise. Police stats from 2019 show they went up by 41% compared to the year before. As for how to end this,
I think it starts just in the everyday discourse of conversations. You know, there are jokes being made, there are slurs being said. You know, those small conversations, it's a snowball effect.
Right now, about 1 million Canadians identify as being part of the LGBTQ2+ community. And despite generational change and acceptance,
there's still a problem in schools with homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia.
A survey of schools across Canada reports that nearly 2/3 of high school students hear homophobic comments weekly.
But we're still seeing that 2S LGBTQ students are reporting much higher levels of harassment in schools, feeling less safe in schools.
In Edmonton, Johnson will keep the flags coming, flying hope in the face of any hate. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
And it's official. Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day, is now a national holiday in the United States. More on today's historic signing from Washington next. The United States has a new national holiday and marks the date that is widely accepted as the official end of slavery in the U.S. Juneteenth has long been celebrated as a holiday in most states, and it has been informally celebrated for generations now. Farah Morelli has more on the occasion from Washington.
Ring with the harmonies.
It's a bill that commemorates the end of slavery more than 150 years ago. Earlier today, members of the Congressional Black Caucus celebrated its signing.
Congratulations, my colleagues. What you've done here today caps the long term.
Thank you, man. All right.
This afternoon, that bill was enshrined in law. Juneteenth, Independence Day, now officially a federal holiday.
Well, I think this will go down for me as one of the greatest honors I will have had as president. Not because I did it, you did it.
There have been calls for Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day, to be recognized nationally. It commemorates the day the last slaves were freed. Confederate soldiers surrendered in April 1865, but it wasn't until 2 months later, on June 19th, that slaves in Texas got the message they were free.
Black Lives Matter!
Calls for recognition grew louder over the past year, following the killing of George Floyd and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, putting anti-black racism into the spotlight.
The yeas are 415 and the nays are 14. The bill is passed.
Though the bill passed in the House, it wasn't unanimous. 14 Republicans voted against it. Some cited concerns the bill was a push by the left to, quote, make Americans feel bad, or the name was too confusing with the 4th of July.
This is pretty consistent with, I think, the Republican base, and it's whether it's trying to fight against teaching basic history around racism and the role of racism in U.S. history to, you know, there's a direct through line from that to denying Juneteenth.
The signing of this bill into law has created a surprise long weekend for some here in the United States. Since Juneteenth is this Saturday, federal workers will have tomorrow off. Celebrations are planned for here in D.C. and across the country. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Washington.
Another record-breaking day in Ontario. More than 210,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered yesterday. But along with that success, the province has its eyes on a growing concern.
We want to make sure that where the Delta variant is right now does not have an opportunity to spread further throughout Ontario.
The Delta variant is being blamed on a surge in cases in Porcupine and Waterloo health units. It's more than 50% more transmissible than the original COVID-19 virus. Today, to fight back against the variant, Ontario moved up second dose appointments for more Delta hotspot regions. We're joined by Dr. Peter Uni now. He's the scientific director of the Ontario COVID-19 Science Table, which advises the Ford government on COVID-19 issues. And Dr. Uni, let's start with this. What is happening in Waterloo region, and is it a cautionary tale for the rest of Ontario?
Well, it is a cautionary tale. What we're seeing there is that the Delta variant, in terms of the number of cases, doubles roughly every week. And this is really challenging right now. They just developed many more cases of the Delta variant per day than any other region in the province, and actually overtook even Toronto and Peel, despite being smaller.
2 doses of a vaccine are extremely effective against Delta. We're getting an influx of vaccines coming our way over the next few weeks. Can we then outpace the Delta variant with vaccinations in this race we're in right now?
If we don't get ahead of ourselves regarding reopening, yes, we probably can. The point is we need to get as many first doses as possible into people's arms as well. So, just above 75% everywhere in the province, actually. And in addition, just move on with second doses. Don't forget, first doses will also protect you against being hospitalized for COVID-19. That's a great first step. And obviously, before you actually can get second doses, you need to get first doses into people's arms. And what we're seeing right now is a lot of people who are affected with Delta who are not vaccinated yet.
That was going to be my next question. In Waterloo, they're saying they're looking at young, unvaccinated people driving the surge there. What's your message to this cohort in society?
Well, we just need to keep going, and we need to take it very seriously right now, and just get vaccinated, and everybody just needs to help each other to get to the places where vaccines are available, and we can do that together. We just need to just move on carefully. One of the issues that we're having right now is the discussions, because it actually goes so well right now. Can we open earlier? And if it comes to indoor spaces, there's no way that we can open earlier. Why not? We're in a situation where we still need to wait for about a week or so until we start to see the impact of step 1 of the reopening. It takes that long, in combination with the vaccine rollout. And right now what we see is Delta, takes off. We're roughly having a doubling time for Delta of about 2 weeks, and we need to keep Delta in check now.
We saw what happened in the UK. They delayed their reopening thanks to this particular variant. Is Ontario at least in a better position to fight Delta then compared to the UK?
Oh, for sure. No, we know now what we're talking about here. We also have a much better vaccine, or the 2 vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. That's excellent. And as long as we stick to the roadmap, we should be okay. We really have had an internationally extremely competitive vaccine rollout now. And if we just continue with the same pace, on the same track, with the same attitude, we will be okay. Just we need to take it seriously, and we can't become complacent now. Just say, okay, let's just move it to the next opening step.
Dr. Peter Uni is the scientific director of the Ontario COVID-19 Science Table. Dr. Uni, thank you for your time as always, sir.
Thanks for having me.
A new program is working to free up hospital beds while helping vulnerable alternate level of care, or ALC, patients in Toronto. People are designated ALC when they no longer need hospital-level care and are waiting for space in a long-term care home or rehab facility. The number of these patients has been rising in Ontario, and their impact on the healthcare system came under the spotlight during the pandemic as hospitals were in desperate need of more space. Angelina King explains.
Who do you like more, Mariah Carey or Celine Dion? Celine Dion.
Maria Manello says her new care team are like her friends, and her new home gives her a sense of freedom and belonging.
The client and the staff are also nice to me, Maybe because I'm nice to them. In the hospital, I feel more lonely.
Manello lived in a hospital room at CAMH for more than 4 years, waiting nearly a year and a half for somewhere else to go. Now she stays in a private room inside a CAMH facility that's been transformed into an assisted living space with the goal of transitioning into the community.
I'm very independent here.
Manello is one of 37 ALC patients transferred here through the Path Home program. Loft Community Services and CAMH launched it early to help free up hospital beds during the pandemic. It's already brought the number of ALC patients down by 10% at CAMH and accepts those with mental health and addictions needs.
It's a more dignified environment to allow people to express their independence.
While thousands of ALC patients were relocated during the pandemic, there are still about 4,000 in Ontario hospitals today. That number reached historic heights of 5,300 twice during the pandemic, occupying around 17% of hospital beds. Care for each ALC patient costs about $500 a day. The average wait time in hospital is around 5 months, but some patients stay much longer.
It's not an easy issue to solve.
Marnie Escaf with UHN says hospitals are constantly trying to find ways to get ALC patients appropriate care and quicker, and that the Path Home is helpful. She says while hospital capacity has improved, there's now a massive surgery backlog, and so more space is still needed.
It would be a win-win for both the hospital acute setting as well as the patients from a respect and dignity perspective to have those patients placed elsewhere.
Loft transfers hundreds of ALC patients out of GTA hospitals each year, and this year the Path Home will be able to accept more than 100. After 3 to 12 months, they'll be transferred elsewhere after gaining more independence. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has nominated a new justice for the Supreme Court of Canada. Ontario Court of Appeal Justice Mahmoud Jamal has been named to replace Justice Rosalie Silberman Abella, which will reach mandatory retirement age next month. Olivia Stefanovic explains why many see this appointment as a step in the right direction.
As long as there's been a top court, the makeup of the bench has looked something like this. A breakthrough came in the early 80s with the nomination of the first woman. Now, more than 4 decades later, a person of color, Ontario Appeal Court Justice Mahmoud Jamal.
It's an incredibly important moment in Canadian history.
The president of the South Asian Bar Association advocated for a diverse appointment.
We know from just looking at case law that individuals who come before the court often feel that they're not being tried fairly because often they'll find the entire courtroom to be Caucasian and white.
Born in Nairobi, Kenya, to an Indian family, Jamal moved from the UK to Canada. In his questionnaire for the top job, he says he experienced discrimination as a fact of daily life.
When judges reflect the makeup of society, this builds public confidence in the justice system.
Jamal is fully bilingual, a new requirement for the top court, one some say creates unnecessary barriers.
It's clear that the bilingual requirement is a very material obstacle to Indigenous candidates serving on the Supreme Court of Canada.
Jamal will replace Justice Rosalie Abella, leaving the bench with fewer women.
I, as a woman and a visible minority, view it of the highest importance that our public institutions and courts included represent the demographic groups that comprise our great country.
This cabinet minister says there's more work to do, but Jamal's nomination is an important step.
I do hope that we will continue to see appointments of this nature.
Jamal will have to answer questions before the House of Commons Justice Committee about the selection process and reasons for nomination before he's officially appointed. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
A group of single moms is moving into their new homes this month. It's part of a new pilot program to bring affordable housing to the city faster. Nali Kalada shares their story.
They are so excited. Each one of them, they have their own room.
and I was able to decorate. One is mermaid, the other one is princess.
It's the new start Carla Medina was hoping for her two daughters. The single mom came to Canada in 2013 as a refugee. This month, she is one of 34 single moms moving into their new homes, part of a new affordable housing pilot.
Living in a city such as Toronto that is so expensive, being a single mother, an immigrant mother, it is going to be very challenging for me to be able to afford a condo like this downtown Toronto. So having affordable housing, it means the world to me and my kids.
Earlier this year, the City of Toronto teamed up with the Daniels Corporation, Sun Life Financial, and Wood Green Community Services to allocate 10% of a new rental building as affordable housing for Wood Green's Homeward Bound graduates, a 4-year program that offers single moms childcare, educational opportunities, and internships.
We thought there must be a solution here that we can provide that might in fact make a difference to women forever break out of the poverty cycle that they're in, and for them to be able to get out of the shelter system.
To qualify for the affordable housing units, Homeward Bound graduates have to earn about $50,000 a year to make sure they can keep up with rent. The new units are then rented to single moms at 80% of market prices, working out to roughly $1,300 for a 2-bedroom unit and just over $1,400 for a 3-bedroom.
Now we can demonstrate to other developers and REITs that are in the process of creating rental housing in the city, that if they were interested in a model like this, they too could bring affordable housing into their new developments and bring them on stream much faster than what's happening in the marketplace right now.
Babcock says it normally takes years to get affordable housing into a community, claiming the pilot did it in less than a year. For Medina, it's made all the difference. The family's future now bright.
And Homeward Bound just changed my life completely.
Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
You know how much I love happy stories on the news, Colette, and seeing those two out there playing in the sunshine like that, great day for them and great weather for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, just beautiful hearing her describe setting up the rooms and how excited those girls would be. Yeah, we had wonderful weather today because the winds turned to the southwest. Okay, so it makes it a little cooler along the lakeshore, but it picked the temperatures up a little bit, but still the humidity's been comfortable. You know where I'm going with this? Yeah, we've got changes that are coming. So humidity goes up for tomorrow and also some showers moving in, which is a good thing because we're still looking at a deficit and really need to get any wet weather that we can. Could be a few embedded thunderstorms in there too. Saturday also looking like a slight chance for some showers. I'll kind of show you where in the day I see that. Primarily though, I'm just seeing kind of variable skies, so changing through the day. And for Dad, really most importantly, that things are still looking good for Sunday and for Father's Day. And yes, it becomes officially summer, but it doesn't happen until after 11 o'clock on Sunday. Now, there's a look at the current temperatures, a little milder east and southwest. So Ottawa is a little bit warmer than us. They're at 26, 24 in Toronto, and Windsor as well, 29. They're going to see more humidity there even than we will here, of course. So those are the winds. You can see that direction if you just even look at the arrows that we were really seeing them coming more from the south to southwest. That's why the changes in those temperatures. A little bit of activity dying out now as we're losing kind of the daytime heating. But this is what happens as we go into Friday. Early morning, for those of you who are still commuting, you can have some wet conditions on the roadways to contend with there, and into the morning and early afternoon, sort of some scattered showers. Then we break out of it, but with that sun, late day we'll see the temperature spiking a little bit, and then we can get a few more of these isolated showers that kind of pop up again. And like I said, a chance for some embedded thunderstorms in there, a better chance for southwestern Ontario. And Saturday we could see from the lake breeze a little effect of a few showers showing up. May stay to the south of us though here in the GTA. The models haven't been in agreement on this. Tonight, look at these readings. I've got clear skies because most of the overnight will be clear. Then towards the early morning hours, as we get closer to 4 or 5, you'll start to see some clouds rolling in just ahead of those showers that are coming our way. So let's walk you through the 5-day forecast then. That high tomorrow of 26, but You can kind of ignore that if you want to know what it's really going to feel like. So your Humidex around 33. For Saturday, the temperature's going up and still keeping that humidity. So 28 with that slight chance for showers I've got in here. Father's Day, summertime, all good things coming at us for Sunday, and 27. And then Monday, we're going to see another kind of front come through. So a chance for some active weather there that I'm keeping an eye on for us, Dwight.
Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
As tension grows in the Middle East, a group of Palestinian refugees here in Ontario are begging for help.
I'm very sorry. I am doing my best to bring you here to Canada.
More on their push to be reunited with their loved ones living in the Middle East next. About a dozen Palestinian refugees living in Ontario are pleading for help from the Canadian government. They are fearful that their loved ones could be harmed in the escalating violence in the Middle East. As Dale Manukduk explains, they want the Ministry of Immigration to take emergency action to reunite them.
I want to hug you. I want to kiss you.
Since coming to Canada as a refugee in 2019, this is the only way Abdallah Al-Hamadni sees his wife and 3 boys who are in Gaza.
I am doing my best to bring you here to Canada. How our kids, they were under bombs, under darkness, no electricity, no water in Gaza, no infrastructure, no supplies, nothing.
His friend Mohammed Jadallah has 5 children and a wife and says they were 200 meters away from an airstrike that killed 45 people.
My eldest son, he was shielding her youngest brother siblings in order to protect them.
This is a photo his children drew for him of an airstrike. It reads, "We are afraid. Where are you, my dad?"
Anybody can create a hope for my kids to reunion again with them.
They and other refugees are calling on the federal government to issue temporary resident permits for their families.
People used to know them as minister's permits. So it's to relieve potentially harsh or unfair circumstances in particular cases. It is meant as an exceptional remedy.
They've done it before. When the explosion in Beirut happened, they immediately helped some of those families. They helped the families of the Ukrainian and the Ethiopian airline crashes. They helped after the tsunami. So we're not asking for anything that's without precedent.
Last week, Ottawa issued an emergency permit after Jihan Kunu came forward with a petition signed by 25,000 people, pleading that her husband and children could come to Canada. After the approval, she went to Cairo, a trip booked before the news, to hug them for the first time in 2 years.
What we're saying to the minister is the circumstances of that one case are exactly the same as the circumstances of all these families.
Amal Al-Batrawi in Hamilton has 2 girls in Gaza.
I'm really worried about my daughters, about my family out there, and they don't have shelters.
While Batrawi's son is with her in Canada, she says she often can't sleep thinking about having to leave the others behind.
The circumstances there forced me to do that in order to offer them a good and safe life. All we want is to live a normal life like any other human being, and that's my dream.
Al-Hamadni, Jadallah, and Batrawi are trying to get a petition signed, hoping for the same result as Kunu. The Ministry of Immigration says they're aware of the situation of families in Gaza and have worked throughout the pandemic to prioritize vulnerable persons. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
As we head to break, here's a look at where the markets closed today. The TSX closed down by 87 points. The Dow also down by 210. Our dollar trading lower at 81.03 cents US. Stay with us. We'll be right back. There was a slight llama on the Highway 400 last night. A llama was on the loose, disrupting traffic on the southbound lanes approaching King Road. After about an hour searching for the animal's owners, there was a happy ending.
All right, so OPP's got your first llama.
1092 llama on the loose.
All right, good job, guys.
Police put out a call on Twitter just before 10 p.m. last night asking whether or not anyone had lost their llama. They said the animal appeared to be healthy and unhurt and asked for the assistance of any nearby residents with a horse trailer. About an hour later, police said the llama had been safely captured and reunited with his family. It was walked onto the trailer and sent back home with its owners. Problema. It wasn't even me. Julia wrote that on our team, but it was a good one. I had to use it.
It is a good one. I just love the expression on its face. Like, what's all the commotion about? Like, that was great. That tweet was brilliant. Let's show you what's going on here as we see some changes coming in our weather. Okay, very comfortable the last few days. Temperatures went up a little bit today with the change in wind direction. Well, the humidity comes up as we go into Friday. And the other thing that's coming is at least a good chance to get some rain showers. All these blue things are lightning strikes here. So a lot of activity with this particular system at this time. We have a chance that we'll get a few isolated thunderstorms mixed into the GTA, but that's really enhanced into southwestern Ontario and enhanced tomorrow afternoon. So overnight tonight, clearer skies. The clouds won't roll in out ahead of this system until we get closer to around 5 a.m. or so. And in terms of the timing, well, it looks like about 7 we may begin to see some of these showers pushing through. So if you are going to be on the roads, that they may be a little wet in areas, and yes, you know how that can kind of slow things down. Into the afternoon, I still have showers there for early afternoon, but actually we'll see this breaking up and moving to the east. There'll still be some instability in play, however, so with some sunny breaks coming through, the temperature rising, then we get that repeat of a few isolated showers coming right back at us. Check out the temperature. Okay, maybe not that dramatic, but we're going to be seeing that humidex there at 33 degrees, and the temperatures will be even warmer into southwestern Ontario, some of the high 20s, even 30 degrees going into the Windsor area, so it's very close by. Into Saturday, a slight chance for some showers in here too, 28 degrees, still feeling kind of sticky, and for Father's Day, things have been looking good, and I'm so glad to see that for this forecast here. So the sky's variable, at times more cloud, at times more sun. In fact, more and more the models are looking like we're going to have a lot of sun there, and 27 degrees for you. So it looks good for you, Dwight, and you deserve it.
You're the best, Colin. Thank you.
You're
We'll check
welcome.
back with you again tomorrow, of course. That is our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Hockey tonight, so no late show. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe out there.